It's 6 a.m. here in the West and Perth Airport is buzzing. Over 35,000 West Aussies fly in and fly out to mining sites across this state, and 10,000 people are expected to cast their vote at the airport this election. So what's going to happen here in WA? Labor nearly lost this state in 2010. There's only 3 members of the lower house currently who are Labor members from West Australia. So how's it going to play out this time? Find out. Has the mining tax affected how people are going to vote here in WA?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I reckon heaps of people vote Liberal in WA. I don't think Labor will really get a look in.
Oh, well, people are just unsure. You know, there's less work because of it.
Because it actually hasn't been that much of a success for the government. It was meant to bring in 22 billion and it's only brought in 126.
Yeah, well, that's dead right, yeah. So I think they need to get rid of it and start again, yeah.
Tony Abbott has said that no government has ever treated West Australia with such hostility. What do you think of Labor's performance towards WA?
I think they take WA for granted. They think they're the rich country and they seem to live off us a little bit.
What are the most important issues for you this election?
Probably the mining tax, carbon tax.
Kevin Rudd has said that the China resources boom is over. He's stated this definitively. Do you think he's correct?
Go look at their birth rates. You think it's over? Where I'm working, there's the 30-year seam, there of ore and all. So still a lot of iron ore to be mined out,
So what have they done with all these billions then? Where's it gone?
I don't know. Gone over, I don't know. Yeah, over east or wherever.
And what about infrastructure? Is that important to you this election?
Oh yeah, massive. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I reckon. Yeah, need a plan. Yeah, way ahead like Melbourne and Sydney do.
And who do you blame, the state or the federal government?
Probably the federal government.
Do you think that we've taken full advantage of this boom? Do you think
No, absolutely not. The streets should be paved with gold. I see homeless people. I see poor infrastructure. And I don't see where the return on investment. Certainly the company I work for, they pay, obviously we all pay tax. There's royalties as well involved.
Where's it gone?
It's gone. It's either been used to pay down existing debts or it's been squandered in essentially what I call white elephant programs, some of the things I've seen around Perth.
So Greg, you describe yourself as a
cashed up bogan.
What is a cashed up bogan?
Somebody with not a lot of sophisticated taste, somebody who's got access to ready money by working hard, and looked down on by the hoi polloi, those that really are sophisticated and know what they're doing. We all like a certain lifestyle, and mining, the money we get as FIFO workers, provides for that lifestyle. There is also a big feeling here that West Australia doesn't count. And secondly, they're not really interested in politics. We are different, we've had to be, because we're so isolated from everywhere else. I think it's a lot to do psychologically with the boom and bust. We've always been boom and bust. So you work hard, you squirrel away, you buy the assets, and then the mining all stops.
Well, it seems here a lot of their complaints are state government issues, but they're blaming the feds.
Yes, they do. They might actually put in a government thinking that all the state issues are the federal government's responsibility.
So as we heard at the airport, there's a lot of people concerned about infrastructure here in WA, and this traffic is just proof of the fact that despite all the money coming in over the last 10 years, people are just wondering where's it gone and what's it been spent on? Do they believe Tony Abbott when he says he's going to spend $1 billion on infrastructure here in West Australia? Or do they have their suspicions because it has been a coalition government that's been running this state the last few years, and has it impressed people when it comes to building things?
Makes you wonder what sort of nasty things the coalition could get up to if they get into power. I think if we're producing more of the income and we've got such infrastructure shortages, that there should be some feedback to assist us to get where we need to go. And there's a lot of people in Western Australia that aren't in the mining industry that are suffering because of all the cost escalations. It's very difficult. And even when you travel east, like we went to Tasmania on holidays, and the lady at the cafe said to us, "Oh, you're from WA, you're rich." And we're not. We're the ones that are still struggling to keep up with everything because other people can afford to pay more and the prices are going up because the market's saying that people will pay that.
Your food costs have just gone up so much.
And what about rent here in Perth?
And the rentals have gone up a lot too. I mean, even just to get a one-bedroom unit is going to cost you, anywhere from $300, $350, $400 a week. You know, in which for your average sort of person who's on a new start allowance, just for example, it's almost impossible to live on that sort of, you know, to pay that sort of amount of rent.
The WA Nationals had high hopes for this star recruit of theirs running for the Senate. David Wirrapunda is an ex-football star here in West Australia. But despite initial hopes for Wirrapunda's election, the Senate race is getting really, really tight. And current analysis shows that 6th Senate spot for West Australia could actually end up going to the WikiLeaks party at the expense of the Nationals or the Greens. Would the WikiLeaks party vote to repeal the mining tax?
How can we actually say about the mining tax? Look, personally, I want to see a disbursement of a restructure of wealth from the very top. I know what goes on. I've seen the corruption in all its layers.
So that's the party's position?
The party's position is this, that we need to have the public record constructed and consider and examine each piece of legislation standalone on its merits.
How would you feel if you took that spot at the expense of Scott Ludlam, the Green senator?
I'm not here to campaign for Scott Ludlam. The Greens are the Greens. Scott Ludlam I have a lot of respect for, and I've thrown my vote his way in the past. But now there's a WikiLeaks party. We're not a front for the Greens.
Scott Ludlam has been very high profile in his advocacy for Assange.
We're not a party of another party.
So how are you different from the Greens?
Because we want to get into Parliament to demand full disclosure on everything that needs to be said.
It's strange here in West Australia. You almost wouldn't know a federal election is on. So I'm heading to Fremantle. It's known as a bit of a hotbed of activism here in WA. It's home to the Green Senator Scott Ludlam, so we'll see how the people feel there about possibly losing his Senate seat to the WikiLeaks party. If he does lose his seat, it could be because the WikiLeaks party directed preferences away from him. What would you think if a WikiLeaks senator got in instead of Scott Ludlam?
Well, I'm not against WikiLeaks at all, but I think it would be devastating. I think that's really surprises me that they would do that.
And he said he didn't think it would be a danger to the Greens. But in actual fact, irrespective of whether David's a good man or not, he's a national candidate, and they stand for a whole lot of things, or represent a whole lot of things which you would think WikiLeaks doesn't stand for.
Do you think West Australia's become more politically conservative over the years?
Yes, most definitely. I think with money, it makes people conservative.
So you think that's what's happened here in WA?
Possibly, with the mining thing. But you know, that I really can't say, you know. But from my point of view, I'm just not going to vote Labor or Liberal. Either of them, you know. And what happened to Julia Gillard really sucked.